Hi everybody. It's been 3 weeks since Dylan passed away, and I want to give everybody a little tour of the first 10 years of his life, which were spent here in Colorado. Right now I'm in Boulder, where he was born at the hospital. I'll show you a shot of the hospital. It's under construction right now, so I can't get up there, but it's Boulder Community Hospital right there where Dylan was born. It was a great day. Me and Robin was overdue, and she woke up that morning and said, "I want this baby out of me." So I was reading the sports page and I said, well, why don't we go to the dog races, which we'd never been to ever, but it was just something to walk around at. And we went up there. It was in Loveland, about 35 minutes away from here. And her water broke after we won a race. We were up like $50, and for us in those days that was pretty good. We were pretty happy. And so we had to get back to Boulder, and wouldn't you know, of course, I had needed to fill up with gas, and then one of those, anybody that lives in Colorado knows what a upslope storm is, and they hit in the spring, you know. And since Dylan was born April 9th, we got one of those upslope storms, and it came in like gangbusters. So our 35 minutes back to Boulder took about an hour and a half. And Robin the whole time kept asking me, how much longer? And about 20 times I said, 5 more minutes. But we got here and it went pretty quick because she wasn't in labor real long, and she spent most of it in the car. I do remember my finger breaking with Robin squeezing my hand so hard with the contraction. But Dylan came out and he was super healthy, and he was just... he was a great baby. I remember our doctor was out of town, so we got this other doctor who was fantastic. And I still remember him coming in that night when we were in the room, and he said, my job is not about delivering babies, it's about starting families. And I'll never forget that doctor. Although I can't remember his name, I could see his face, and I will always remember that he said that. Anyway, that's where it all began for Dylan. So I'm here in Gun Barrel, and this is where we brought Dylan back after he was born. This is the first place he ever slept, other than the hospital for one night. I remember, because we came straight from the dog race place, we didn't have our car seat or anything we needed to check him out from the hospital. So Carissa gave me a ride back while Robin was still back at the hospital. Carissa gave me a ride so I could go pick this stuff up. The whole families were there when he was born, both sets of grandparents. His Aunt Patty, his Aunt Carissa. Anyway, Carissa was nice enough to bring me back and get the stuff, and I brought it back to the hospital. But the thing is that I was up there for about 5 minutes, and Carissa probably wondered why, but like a song fell in my lap, and it was a song called Believe, and I still remember it. And, you know, it was Dylan that wrote that song, because it just fell in my lap, so I had to sit down at the guitar and work it out for about 5 minutes. And then, you know, we brought him home, and he was a really good baby, you know. He wasn't really that fussy or anything. He was very laid back. I remember even the doctor saying, you have a really laid back baby because it just slept through the circumcision. I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, so then we, you know, when he came home, funny thing is when Robin was pregnant, she needed a little buddy, so she wanted a cat, which I didn't really want, but wasn't about to argue with my pregnant girlfriend, so we got this cat. And like the first or second night, it jumped up on the bassinet because it wanted to, you know, it was curious about the new baby. And that was it. And then the cat was gone the next day. I gave it to somebody at work. Cat was not allowed in the house. The baby was all that mattered then. But that's it. That was Dylan's first home right here. Here's a good picture of me and Dylan at this place here in Gun Barrel. I'm in my car now here. We're still in Gun Barrel. You can see how little he is, and he's already laughing. He loved to laugh. Always, his whole life. Making him laugh was the best. Didn't matter if he was, you know, 5 months old or 25 years old. Making him laugh was the best thing. He started laughing early too. He was just a happy baby. And good times. So this is the park where Dylan took his first steps. I remember he was starting to get up on the table and walk around the table while holding on to it. And me and Robin had just separated, so I had stayed with some friends here for like a month or so before I moved to Louisville. We're down in Boulder right now. And me and my friend Marla came over here one day, and I knew it was coming, and he just started walking, and then we would separate. Me and Marla would separate a little bit more, and he would run a little farther, kind of like running and fall into our arms and laughing the whole time. He was so happy. He was so happy that he was making us happy. So I'm sure he could have done that all day because he saw how much fun we were having. And I don't think Robin was happy about it because she missed out on the first steps, but that's just the way it worked out in timing. But we had a whole bunch of fun. I'd give up 10 years of my life to have, you know, 1 hour of that day back, because it was a great day. Here's a picture of Dylan with his little buddy Caitlin. Around that time that he first started walking. Here I am in Louisville. Let's see. Dylan was about 2 and 3 when I was over here. We had a band, we would play in the basement. I had 2 roommates that lived upstairs, and I lived in that garden level basement. You can see the window right there. And I had a bedroom and a bathroom downstairs and our little studio. I have some good pictures from that time. Here's Dylan in front of the studio. He loved to play the instruments, so I had some pictures of him playing the drums. He loved to play the drums. Every time he came over to that house, he would always play the drums. There's him getting a squirt gun for his birthday. Guessing 3 years old, maybe 2, probably 3. With his Gramps. Loved his Gramps. His Gramps loved him. So did his Grandpa Lee. Both grandpas. He loved both his grandpas very much. Here's down at Patty's house. How about that sailor suit, huh? I must have picked him up from Robin's, because there's no way I bought that sailor suit from him. You know, I didn't show it to him when he was an adult either. I didn't want to scar him that he was wearing that when he was 2 years old. But Patty had a little horse place down in Parker for a while during this period. And we'd go down there and play in this big lot that she had. And here he is getting a little toy guitar with his Nana. They look like they're having fun there. I don't know if that's a Christmas. Can't remember. Here he is with his blocks, which he liked to just build up and then destroy. That was here in Louisville, I think. So is this. He was always wearing his bib because he was kind of a drooler, actually. He would drool a lot. Flower. When he'd say flower, a bunch of spit would come out of his mouth. He doesn't look real happy in that picture, though. Not sure what's going on there. It's Christmas, obviously, but... And here he is with my roommate Brad playing the piano. Same house. He always loved music, you know. He turned me on to music as he got older, and you know, he was very musically inclined. This is where I first started settling down. I lived in one more place in Lafayette before I built my house, but home base was definitely Marge's house, his G-Ma's. So he was stable there. He had a nice permanent place, and I'll definitely go visit that house over in Westminster. Here's the house that Dylan mainly grew up in. This was Marge's house, his G-Ma. Robin and I weren't exactly what I would call grounded at the time. And Marge was just devoted and just the rock in Dylan's life. Thank God for her, because she really kept it going. And anybody that knows Dylan really owes Marge a huge amount of gratitude. But this was it, 9553 Garrison. Used to be powder blue. He had the bedroom up there to the right, in front there. That was his bedroom. He went to school over here for kindergarten, and I'll take a ride over there. But this was an important place in Dylan's life. Had a lot of love here. I remember a couple things coming over here, and the Columbine tragedy happened one time when I was dropping Dylan off. Robin was over here, met me over here, and she was in a little panic, and that was the first school shooting, so I really remember that. Of course, Dylan was only 3, so it wasn't a big deal in his life, but another time I took him to a Rockies game, and for whatever reason I had to drop him off at Marge's after the game, and she met us outside, and she was very worried looking, and I thought something horrible had happened to either Robin or Carissa or something, but she just hugged Dylan and was so glad we were okay, and we didn't know what happened, but I guess after we left the game, one of the escalators had collapsed, and like a bunch of people got really injured. I think a few of them might have even died, but we didn't even notice it. I mean, we heard the sirens leaving, but I didn't know that's what had happened, and we didn't listen to the radio on the way home, so. But yeah, this was home base for Dylan, and he was a happy boy here, that's for sure. Here's Dylan's first school. This is where he went to kindergarten. Zerger Elementary. I used to come every Tuesday or Wednesday or one day of the week and sit in there and help out the teacher. It was so much fun. I remember one time he got in trouble, not while I was there, but he was putting pencils to make it look like he had boobies, and he was saying boobies, and the teacher got upset about it and made a little bit too big of a deal about it. And I remember Dylan being so upset, and then I went over there. He was with Robin that night, and I went over there and he showed me what he did, and I couldn't help but laugh because it was really funny. So, you know, I don't know if I was any help, but it just wasn't that serious to me. He was just trying to make his friends laugh, and that's what he did. And we'd go out and we'd play out in the playground here. Here's the playground. It's like exactly the same. I don't think they've done anything to it. I think this was his room right here. It was the one that backed up to the playground. It might be the one around the corner. It's been 20 years, but I do remember this playground because we'd go out every day and bounce the ball around and have fun with his buddies. Yeah, that was his room right there. Boy, was he happy playing here. All the other kids loved him too. He was just the life of the party. This is Highland Hills Golf Course. One of the places me and Dylan used to play golf. We'd actually play golf pretty often. We didn't play here, we were playing at Haystack over in Niwot. He was a really good golfer for his age, 6, 7, 8. He would probably play, I don't know, a couple times a month. Here's him getting his first toy set. That was a birthday present or something. When he was about 2. Here he is when he's older. You can tell what a good swing he had. Look at his feet. Really good. He liked whacking that ball. I don't know if he really liked playing golf so much as he liked hitting the ball. That's like a lot of kids. But we sure had fun. We'd run around on the golf course, and half the time we wouldn't even play the game. We'd just laugh and have things like try and throw it in the hole, and it was all about the ice cream afterwards. Here's Cotton Creek Elementary. This is where Dylan went. He was 3rd and 4th grade. Here's the place over on 120th and Federal. After Marge sold the house, this is where they moved. Dylan spent many a time in the pool here. Loved the pool. But they were here for a couple years before he moved to Las Vegas. There's the gate to the pool. Actually, it was on the other side, really. Here's 742 Beaumont in Lafayette. And I was here for a long time, for like 4 years. And Dylan was, I'd say, between 3 and 7-ish. Maybe 4 and 8. I have good memories here. I used to have another friend named Dylan, and the two Dylans would play. Little Dylan loved Big Dylan. They used to play baseball a lot. And I remember one time that I had bought these really good remote control cars. And because this street ends, you can see, there's like no traffic on the street, so we would play in the street all the time. We'd kick the ball around, play baseball, hockey. We had a little hockey set up here. And when I got these remote control cars, they were really good ones too, and me and Dylan were playing with them. Then I could hear the phone ring because that big window upstairs was open, and obviously pre-cell phone, so I ran in to get it, and I could look out that window and make sure Dylan was okay. And he was about 4, and he kept crashing the car, and then for some reason it just kept spinning, or something wouldn't work, and he just started kicking it. And we had just bought the things. I mean, we had just bought them. And I came flying down like, what are you doing? You know, because we got the really good ones, and he just basically destroyed the thing in about 15 minutes. But, you know, he was a little freaked out when I came running out. You know. But, and we laughed about it later, but yeah, we had a lot of good times in here. You know, I had a couple roommates here, but one at a time. You know, I lived in the downstairs for a while. I had my piano down there, and then I lived in the upstairs for a while a different roommate lived in the downstairs, and lived with a lot of good people here, you know, or not a lot, just a couple, 2 of them, Jong and Jeff, and at separate times, and they were good people, and they really liked Dylan, and he was always welcome here, always. There's the first house I bought when Dylan was about 9, 10. It must have been 10. I think it was 2005, so he is either 10 or just turned 11. Yeah, we had some good times there too. That was the last place that, you know, that's where I was living when he left for Las Vegas. I guess he must have been 11 or 12. So I had him for about a year and a half here at this place. And he had his own room here. It was nice, you know, we had it all set up for him. And I think he was comfortable here. One funny thing I remember is, God, he was like 10, and I had rented out the South Park movie. Had just come out on video. It was like called Bigger, Louder, Better, or something like that. I don't know if it was exactly appropriate for a 10-year-old, but we threw it on and we laughed so hard. We must have watched it about 4 times that day. We just kept playing it. It was just so funny. And we both loved it. You know, and he got it, even though he was 10, you know, a lot of it he got. And, you know, he always found funny stuff. You know, I remember, you know, when he was about 14 and we had our family reunion up in Steamboat, and he came in from Las Vegas, and we had to drive to Steamboat, so 4-hour drive, and he turned me on to a recording he had of Louis C.K., who at the time was unheard of. But Dylan was like, oh, you gotta find this, or you gotta listen to this guy, and we laughed the whole way up to Steamboat. And he was always finding things like that, finding good music, and I mean, his mom hated some of the music, but I liked it. I mean, it was pretty hardcore, some of that Alexandria stuff. And what else did he turn me on to? When he was real little, like 11, 9 or something, he found Linkin Park, and he found Green Day. I remember when he was real young, I was like, man, this kid's gonna like hard rock, that's for sure. Heavy music, you know, and I was right. But then, you know, and he left, and it was pretty sad when he left. And my life changed. His life changed, and you know, that was it. My little man went off to be a big man, and it was sad, but that's just what happened. I want to share some pictures that I have. I was fortunate enough that people around me took pictures because I wasn't much of a picture taker. So here we go. Here is my sister Patty, his Aunt Patty. He's just a little baby. He could suck that stuff down. He was a good eater. Here he is with my mom and dad, his Nana and his Gramps on his very first Christmas. There's a good expression on his face, you can see. And here he is on his first birthday. He didn't know what was going on. He was certainly happy though when he got to eat. Let's see what he looks like. 1 year old. You can see the 1 on the cake there. Getting some kind of reflection here, aren't I? Let's turn this around. Here he is when he's about, probably about 4. This is his buddy Alex. This is at Wanaka Lake over in Lafayette. We'd go over there a lot. He'd play with this boy Alex. I was friends with his mom. They were like the same age, and Dylan was just huge compared to him. And then, you know, I saw him later when he was like 17, Alex, and he caught up. He was big. That's a cute picture. Here he is at the go-kart place. Look at the fear in his face. He's so nervous. But after he did that first run, man, he loved it. I think that was his first solo run. He's trying to wave. Look at him. He's petrified. If you gave him a little nudge, he would. He was kind of a little bit of a scaredy cat sometimes, but if you gave him a little nudge, he would suck it up and go for it, and then he'd get some confidence. When I taught him to ride a bike, I just threw him out in the middle of the street, and he fell, and he had a great threshold for pain. He'd get hurt, but he'd shake it right off. So physical pain was pretty easy for him. Get right back on the bike, and you know, within a day we were riding on a trail. He got confident fast. I don't know what we were doing there, but it looks like we were happy. I think I showed this picture before. I love that one. That is a happy baby. That is one happy baby. I think I showed this one too, but I love this one of him trying to play the drums. He would whack that thing forever. Yeah, that was fun. Let's see what else we got. Here he is with my sister and my dad. He used to do karate chops all the time. They're doing the karate chops there, but Dylan loved to do Karate Man. Do his kicks like he was the Ninja Turtle. Here's one. Him doing his hi-ya. I'm not sure where this was. Maybe it was sometime I wasn't with them. That's my mom, his Nana, hanging out with them. No tooth. Here's a visit down to Arizona. Playing at the pool. Loved the pool. Didn't matter where the pool was. Loved the water. Here he is hanging out with his Gramps. They were doing something silly, I can tell by Dylan's expression. This is kind of a blurry photo, but I still remember that. It was either a Christmas or a birthday. And he got this piggy bank from his gramps. And the best thing about it was there was money in it. And he thought that present was so cool. Here's some of his personality right there. Hiya! That is a happy kid having fun. There's a picture when he was about 2. Look at that look on his face. What a good looking kid. He was never funny looking. Like some kids are funny looking and then they get good looking. He was always good looking. Well, I don't know what we were doing there, but Dylan seemed to be having a good time, whatever we were doing. Here he is at Patty's wedding. He was so nervous. He had to walk down the aisle and everything. He was part of the wedding. When he'd get nervous, he'd just blink, 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 blink. Man, he was blinking that day. He was very nervous. So handsome in his suit. You know, I had many wonderful times with Dylan, and I'll turn this around, and you know, I mostly remember him, you know, in those first years in Colorado. And this is about the 5th time I've shot the video, and it's hard to keep it together. You know, he was my little guy for a while. You know, for this first, 11 years of his life. We had some good times. And his life, his life is so big on his little brothers. And that's how he lives on. My devotion to Dakota and Dean comes from not always being present for Dylan. And Dean is so much like Dylan. And so I'm trying to find some kind of positives. And, he's made me a better dad. That's it. And I was fortunate enough to get a second chance to be a dad. And I'm not gonna squander that chance. I'm truly blessed. So blessed that Dylan was in my life at all. And let me show you a picture here. Here's him with his little brothers here. See if I can get back. There we go. There's Dean right there. Dean just gravitated towards Dylan so much when he came out to visit us. I wish they would have got to spend more time, but Dylan was in not a great place all the time, so. But that's the tragedy. But the wonder is that his spirit lives on. and his two little brothers.